Hello, in this video I will explain data analysis capabilities of QubeView software. So in order to analyze your data, you first need to select a device, one or more, to view the data for. Let's start with one device, and the time frame of data to be viewed. Now you can manually enter time frame in a from to boxes, or you can use this here tool that you can use for selecting the time period or viewing the data available. So let's go ahead and click on unzoom button, and I can see here I have a time span in month of May, and that is the data that you get with your demo installation. So you can repeat these exact steps as in this video. So I have double clicked on this green area, so it automatically selected, and I will confirm that selection with this here button. Okay, now I have these two selections of devices and time period, and I will go ahead and open Measurement Trends plugin. You can do that by clicking here on this button or using the menu Analysis Measurement Trends. It's the same. So once you open Measurement Trends functionality, you will instantly get a chart, and you will get a chart with a channel selection that is defined in this here dialog. So if I open this dialog, I see here that 3 channels are selected, and only average is selected from the series, and a 10-minute aggregation. And this is something that you get with installation, because you have LN voltages as a default profile to be opened. Now this is something to get you quickly started, but you can edit these profiles here, add your own, whatever you like. So to edit this profile, you can go ahead and change this selection. For instance, let's just leave one voltage channel, and let's add a frequency. And I will go ahead and click this button right to the combo box, and it will open my options. And I will want to save this as a new profile. So clicking on the second button, it will ask me for a name. Let's call it test name, test profile. Okay, save. Now I have this selection here saved. Now I can make this profile as a default one that will be opened each time I open Measurement Trends by clicking on this here button. I can also delete it by clicking on this button, or if I do some changes, I can save it in the same profile with the first button. Other than the trend channels, you can also select harmonics channels, in which case you have to make a selection of phase and voltage harmonics, interharmonics, or current harmonics or interharmonics, and voltage or current angle. So you select a group of harmonics or interharmonics, and then you specify orders in this here box. So this here means it will show 3rd, 5th, and all between 7 and 11. And you can also select PQ3 Class A channels. Resulting chart can be exported to file as an image or data using this here button. So if I click image to file, it will open a dialog asking you about the location of the file and its name. And if I choose data to file, similar dialog appears, also asking for name and the location to store your CSV file. Now settings for these exports can be made in administration, configuration, Measurement Trends dialog. So right here you can specify width and height of the image to be exported and its type. And for the data export, there is a CSV export settings tab, and here you can define encoding. Our value is going to be in double quotes. Is the timestamp column going to be a single one? And what will be the delimiter? You can export this as an image or a data directly to clipboard using these here 2 buttons. So copy image to clipboard and copy data to clipboard. Other visual settings of this chart can also be edited in Administration, Configuration, Measurement Trends window. Here you can set the order of the colors that appear in your chart. You can rearrange them, add, delete, and also you can do some visual settings editing here with various fields. The subset tab, you can define a type of line for each of the subsets. So right here we can see min and max defined as a medium thin dot line and average as a medium thin solid line. And also right here I see a 40% entered for min max subset color lightens difference. So that means the max will be 40% darker than the average, and the min will be 40% lighter than the average line. You can restore original settings at any time by clicking on the restore button in the upper right corner of this dialog. Next we have event viewer functionality. Let's close trends, open the events for the same time period, and it will open a table with all the events in this time period for this device. So we can see here 3 events have happened in this time interval. And again, I can open the dialog that defines what kind of events I want to see. And I see here I can further filter this by displaying only segs, swells, and interruptions. And I can filter segs and swells by its percentage to nominal. So right here I have segs defined as 0 to 90% nominal and swells as 110 to 120% nominal. And I see here I want to display line to neutral events and line to line events. And I also have an aggregation where event phase aggregation is selected and none of the time aggregation is selected. I can export this events table by clicking on this here button, and it will copy the table to clipboard. If I double click on any of these cells, I will get a detailed view for this event, and of course that is only the case for the events that pCube recorded this data for. So let's double click, and you get a view of the recordings for this specific event. Defaultly I will have only one voltage and current selected for the phase that event took place on, but I can also of course select other voltages, other currents, also frequency, power, apparent power, and all of these units appear on its separate chart, one above the other. But I can also make it a stacked display with the use of this here button. And this button is actually toggling between 2 versions of views. And also defaultly opened is RMS channels, but you can also switch that to waveform and also change selection of channels here. Next, in the event viewer is a tool that we can use to measure a duration inside an event, and we enable this tool by clicking on this here button, which then shows 2 cursors, a blue one and a red one, and we can move these cursors by enabling each one of those with these here 2 buttons. So let me move the left one and then the right one, and now I can read out the duration right away, or I can use this here button to zoom in between the cursors. So now I can fine-tune these here locations of the cursors. So let's do this. Now I can see it's 0.7 seconds the duration between these 2 sub-events in a single event. You can always unzoom with pressing this here button, or there is a context menu on the chart itself. So right click on the chart anywhere and undo zoom. It's grayed out now because I'm already unzoomed. Next you have a zoom mode toggle button. So either it's horizontal, vertical, or both. It toggles between these 3 options. So for instance, if I leave this vertical zoom mode, then if I click and drag on the graph, it will create only horizontal zoom rectangle. So again, let me unzoom, and let's try the horizontal one. So go to horizontal, okay. Now you have a horizontal zoom. Let's unzoom. Next, we have, similar to measurement trends, export functions, also as image to file and data to file, and also copy image to clipboard and copy data to clipboard. Again, you have settings for these export functions in the administration, configuration, event summary list dialog. Very similar to measurement trends configuration. You have colors for the lines, you have image export settings, CSV export settings, some visuals, and setting for a line on the chart, line type. Important thing here to add is you can combine multiple pCube devices in this analysis. So let's go ahead and select all three devices by clicking on devices and holding Control button. So if I now refresh this here table, it will show aggregated list for all of these three devices. So I see here now there are lots of different types of events, and I see here it's some of these are from device PSL main entrance, and some are from rooftop solar, and some are from household consumption. I can sort this table by clicking on the column header. It's defaulted to timestamp, but you can sort it by event type, by magnitude, by duration, or by phase. Some of these events don't have magnitudes, and some of these events don't have recorded measurements, such as RVC. So if you try to double click it, it will show a message, event type RVC doesn't contain graphical data. Next tool in data analysis is energy management functionality. So let's go ahead and select rooftop solar device and open this tool. So the first and basic chart in this functionality is an energy plot. So let's go ahead and click that. And this will default to month period and the current month. Since I don't have any data since May, I will just go ahead and use this here left button to get to month of May. Okay, so here we have a month view that is aggregated by day. So each of these bars represents a day, and this actually represents generation of a rooftop solar power plant. And here I can change this time interval to week of May. So let's go ahead to next week. You can scroll 2 weeks here. You can switch to day. So when you switch to a day, you will see a 15-minute aggregated bars. So you can view each day. For moving in time, you can use these left-right buttons, or you can directly use this here tool to manually enter any date, or you can quickly jump to current date by clicking on this here button. If you want to compare two periods, you just select comparison here, and this will compare any two selected intervals. So this here would be day to day. You can compare week to week or month to month. Now I can select multiple devices, and let's go ahead and select one period. Let's do a day. So if I select multiple devices and click on the refresh, it will show both energies on the same chart. So I can see here the solar one is a green one, and it has a clear pattern of sunshine by day, and the blue one is household consumption, where there is consumption all throughout the day. So let's look at this in a month overview. So there will be a month overview, and you can also, of course, make a comparison chart for the both of these. Compare any 2 days, weeks, months, or even years. Of course, if you select year, it will take some time to get all those data to show to your chart. Next tool in the energy management would be energy versus profile. Now let me go ahead and open this first, because I can view profiles and associated devices to profiles here. So first I see I have 2 profiles defined here, and on the second tab I see a device rooftop solar has associated daily profile to it, so that's good. Let me confirm that and open the energy versus profile tool. First it will ask me what period level do I need. Since I don't have any week profile associated, I'll just leave that as a day level, units watt hours, that's okay. And now I'm getting a chart that shows profile as a green area, and each of these lines represents a day in the selected interval. This selected interval is a little too big for this chart to be really readable, so let's go ahead and lower that to 5 days. Just open a new graph. Okay, so I see here those 5 days as 5 lines, and a green area, as I've said, is a profile. And on the places where a daily energy exceeds the selected profile, you would have a red area as an alarm. So if more lines cross the green profile area somewhere, the intensity of the red will be higher. The table on top of this chart shows a summary of energies for this particular interval. So the first cell will show energy in the same period last year. In this case it's 0 because we don't have data for that period. Then the next cell would be a previous period, so in this case previous 5 days. In this case we also don't have data for this. Next cell shows energy expected by the current profile, and then after that we have a number of real watt hours, so in this case 137 kilowatt hours. And then we have difference between profile and real watt hours. In this case difference is 75 kilowatt hours, and in percentage it would be 35% difference. And then we have a comparison versus last period, and that same number in percentage, and then versus last year same period and percentage. In these examples we have worked with the demo devices that you get with your demo installation, and they already have preloaded energy profiles associated with them. Now I will show you what happens when you get your new device that doesn't have any associated profile. So we have one new device added, and if I open Profile Manager and assign Profiles tab, I see there is no daily or weekly profile associated with this new device. So now we will add a new profile. Back to first tab, I will make a daily profile. I will make a 15-minute interval and click Add Profile. Let's give it a name. And here you get a 15-minute interval with values for each of that interval. You can input this by hand, of course, but a more convenient way would be to use the existing downloaded data to create a profile from. So you would click Load from Data, and now I will select my device, and in this here part of the window you will get all the days that you have data for. So here you can select one or more days by holding a control button. So if you select more than one, profile will be calculated, in this case by average, but you can also set to minimum or maximum for each of the 15 minutes interval. Let's keep it on average. Click on Load. So in some cases you get a message that parts of your interval had an incomplete data and were not included in the final result. That is okay. So now you get this table filled up with averaged couple of days we have selected. In this step you can also manually edit existing values, but if you're satisfied with that, you can give this table a sub-profile name. And we can see here this profile will be valid for the whole year. What you can do now, you can add more sub-profiles if your profile changes throughout the year. But for this particular demo, I will keep this one sub-profile. And then in the alarm settings, I can keep it as a percentage threshold or an absolute watt hours thresholds up and down from these values here. So let's keep it as a percentage threshold of 150% and 0%. Okay. Now that I have created my new device profile, I will go ahead and select Assign Profiles tab, go to New Device, and on the column Daily, I will select New Device Profile, confirm it with OK. So right now, if I select my new device and open the energy versus profile chart, I will get my profile drawn out with a couple of days of data that I have. Right now we have been working with the file system data source, and that's the reason we don't see an additional button here. And let's go ahead and switch to an SQL data source. So going to Administration, Data Source Manager, select an SQL data source, make it a default one, and just reopen the energy management functionality. And now you get this additional chart, and it is very similar to energy versus profile, except this is a live energy versus profile. So if I open that, first I need to select the unit, kilowatt hours is okay. I will get a chart that represents 24-hour sliding window, and currently it shows only profile because it doesn't have any data in the past 24 hours downloaded. But in the background, the software started to communicate with the PCube device, and it started to read out its meter's HTML page, parse out that information, and aggregate them into a 1 minute measurements stored in the SQL database. So if I keep this window for some time, I would start seeing a red line appearing from the right, showing the current measurements, current live measurements.